Welcome back to this meeting of South Cambridgeshire District Council. We now come to item 15A. Item 15. And we have a motion standing in the name of Councillor Heather Williams. Councillor Williams, would you like to move your motion, please?
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of my motion has already been reflected in some of what's been said earlier in relation to transport plans for the wider area. We heard a version of what was said. I appreciate the leader said there were different things reported in the press, but the sentiment still seems to be the same, that there is a view that road charging options should be kept on the table. This is something that I'm very concerned about. If this council is a member of numerous outside bodies, such as the GCP and the Combined Authority. I believe residents have been very clear that they don't want to see road charging in Cambridge in particular, and I think that that would be replicated throughout the county. So in bringing my motion, I hope very much that people will take into consideration the debates we've already had on congestion charging in Cambridge, of which we have had many in this chamber, and really think about the impact that that would have on our residents. And what this motion seeks to do is to set a policy of this council, which is what all motions should be doing, that the council will not support road charging options in Cambridgeshire being included in plans. Appreciate there's a bit of a situation because this council's representative already yesterday, I believe, supported options, but I'm of the hope that it's not too late to change course. So please do. I won't go on much longer because we've debated this a lot in this council chamber, but please do consider voting for this motion. I think it's what residents want to see. I think they want to see clear opposition to road charging, be it that congestion charging or any other form. And we'll see how the vote goes, Chair. But please do consider the words that are in the agenda. It's no to road charging, full stop, in Cambridgeshire of any form.
Thank you, Councillor Williams.
Well,
do you have a second motion?
I do.
Councillor Dandentel, thank you. Councillor Dandentel, do you wish to reserve your right to speak or speak now?
I'll speak after everyone else, thank you, Chair.
Who wishes to respond to this? Councillor Brown-Newlands.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I hope everybody can hear me. So I sought the advice, as the Chair had already done, about the admissibility of this motion, because clearly South Cambridge District Council has no provenance, has no remit over highways matters. Central government, however, clearly mandates such things. So I would reference two documents. One, the previously cited briefing paper on local road charges. I would reference the House of Commons Transport Committee in 2022 said there was no alternative. Sorry, this is a Conservative government I'm talking about, Chair, may I just remind the Council. So this is the Conservatives telling us that road charging is inevitable. So that's completely in contrast with this motion today. Hugh Merriman, who's now Transport Minister, has on his website a requirement for filling the £35 billion black hole that is the likely reduction in vehicle excise duty and fuel tax. Here, the statutory authority for highways is the County Council. And this idea has already been discussed, in fact, just very recently, on October the 17th. Councillor Steve Camp's motion was denied, which sought to do the same as this proposal. To take congestion charging, road pricing, whatever synonym we want to use for it, because of the inevitability. I was minded, Chair, to think about King Canute, who often is cited incorrectly as wanting to disprove his or prove his powers. He wanted to show that it was no point. He had no more power than any other mortal to face the inevitability of the tide. And the inevitability of a long, long day of road charging is just the same prospect that we have before us today. And it's not just Hugh Merriman, the Transport Minister. Your friends in Tufton Street, 55 Tufton Street, which is a place you often cite your figures from.
Sorry, Councillor Milne, I'm aware that I had any friends in Tufton Street.
I'm sorry, Chair. I forget myself.
Mills, if you would just wind up your comments as well.
Yes. I mean, the point is whether it's 25 billion as quoted from the Alliance of British Drivers in Tufton Street, or the 35 billion that Hugh Merriman quotes, the question remains, where is that deficit going to be filled? And the idea that we can proscribe, we can deny the possibility of road charging is pretty much a denial to nowhere.
Councillor Mills. Next, I think we have Councillor Stephen Drew.
Thank you, Chair. I don't think this motion's about road charging. I think it's an attempt by a desperate Conservative Party to find something they can say which the public won't reject them for. Therefore, most of the comments I wish to make relates to the politicking of this, but I don't believe for 1 second that it's about road charging. In 1834, Robert Peel became Conservative Prime Minister and issued the Tamworth Manifesto. He changed the Conservative Party and he said we would reform to survive. He rejected the old Tory ideas of the Duke of Wellington. What's really sad is that the modern Conservative Party, as represented by this motion, are back to the Duke of Wellington. They're back to the pre-Reform Act days. They just reject for the sake of it. The motion was ill thought out. Rejecting any form of road charging forever doesn't show concern for residents and the economic success of our county. It shows a closed mind that refuses to evaluate the effectiveness of the range of possible solutions that experts in the field may choose to promote. Surely our Conservative colleagues wish to be seen as expert-driven politics. Surely they wish to be open-minded. That is not what they are doing. This is exactly like their Prime Minister, Mr Sunak's immediate opposition to the introduction of 29-mile speed limits in Wales. He immediately comes out and rejects it. Is that another thing that the South Cambridgeshire Conservative Group wish to know that they reject? Because I'd like to see them share that with residents of South Cambridgeshire. We know what the views of South Cambridgeshire residents are on 21-mile limits. This is all part of the same policy. The knee-jerk and politically misleading opposition to 15-minute cities that Tories and their client journalists have been putting forward, where they simply tell lies about it. It's all part of the same thing. It's rejection. There's nothing moving forward. We've seen Conservatives in Cambridgeshire immediately reject the attempt of the combined authority to improve bus services because their immediate response is, oh no, we can't pay for it. We can't possibly pay for it. This idea on road charging is exactly the same. I was really disappointed recently at a briefing from county officers to hear that the introduction of civil parking enforcement may be weakened within South Cambridgeshire because the Department for Transport and the government are directing councils not to be too tough on motorists. They mustn't launch a war on motorists. What about pedestrians? What about disabled people and old people? What about people who want to go to the shops? Maybe if the Conservative Party spent a bit more time worrying about residents and a bit more time worrying about the people they're supposed to represent and less time worrying about having knee-jerk rejections of things and not being willing to be open-minded, we'd be better off. So I have no problem opposing this motion. It doesn't mean that I think road charging is a good idea. It simply means that it's not about road pricing. It's about a desperate Conservative Party who know how unpopular they are and are looking for one thing where the public won't reject them for everything they say.
Next, I think we have Councillor Peter Sanford.
you, Chair, and through you, I'd like to just follow up on Councillor Milne's earlier comments. He did indeed cite Hugh Merriman as the chair of the Cross-Party Transport Select Committee in the House of Commons as seeing no viable alternative to road pricing. There's another comment. Mr. Merriman said he believes the public would support a scheme despite previous opposition. And this is the result of a committee of MPs from all parties who have looked across the spectrum for many, many months and reported back in detail. If Mr. Merriman says the public will support such a scheme, who am I to argue with him? The Chancellor took almost a year to respond. Chancellor Hunt responded in 2023. The government does not currently have plans to consider road pricing. I think that's a subtle hint that whatever government is in office after the next general election, road pricing is coming across the country. I think such a broad brush motion as Councillor Williams has proposed will lead to all sorts of difficulties, and we should be prepared to collaborate constructively with whichever government is offering us road pricing. So I'll be voting against this motion for that reason. Thank you, Chair.
And next I call Councillor Graham Cohen.
Thank you, Chair. So again, I'll be brief, but essentially I'll be supporting this motion because I believe our residents have spoke loud and clearly on congestion charge, and it really is about time that we put this issue to bed and not spend any more money going over proposals that are clearly unpalatable for our residents in this area. We do have decision-making powers. I know it's a county issue, but we do make up part of the GCP, and we are part of the combined authority, which have influence over travel. So I don't think we can distance ourselves completely from these issues. And I think this motion is very reasonable, so that our residents know it has been completely taken off the table.
Thank you. Well, before I come back to... Oh, no, I think we have one more speaker. Councillor Martin Cunn.
Thank you very much indeed. I think Councillor Cohen's comments, Chairman, come back to the point that basically this motion is about the congestion charge and trying to bring it back forward. But the actual motion is not about congestion charge. The political purpose behind it is to bring it back to the fore. The congestion charge, the decision has been decided. That's not the problem. But this motion proposes that all road pricing should not be considered. And that's a different motion. And clearly, there may well be cases where different proposals are put forward, different solutions. In particular, related to the congestion charge which they're trying to bring back, we have since originally was proposed, been told that we're going to have a much larger Cambridge 2040 proposal by the government, which will need a high standard, probably a higher standard proposal for a local sustainable transport system. And we need to, if the government is going to propose this, it's really incumbent upon the Conservative government to propose a solution to that. What that will be, I don't know, but the government somehow has to find the money to provide that, and we need that. And so I would throw this back to the party opposite, Chairman, to think about how they might fund that. All proposals, I think, need to be on the table. Therefore, I think this motion is unsatisfactorily answering the problems that we've got in front of us.
Now, before I come back to the second of the motion and the move of the motion to sum up, I have now two speakers. Councillor Dr. Richard Williams first, and then Councillor Anna Braddon. Before we come to that, though, do I have any other speakers who want to speak in this debate? No. So after those two speakers, we will move on to the seconder and to the mover to sum up. Councillor Dr. Richard Williams.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'll be supporting this motion. And really, the last contribution sums up why I think it's important that we have this motion, that we do take a clear stand on this. When we started off the last contribution saying that congestion charging was off the table, but then the contribution ended by saying all proposals need to be on the table. Now, you can't have both of those positions. Congestion charging can't be off the table, but we have to have all proposals on the table. And this is exactly the problem, that apparently, because half or just over half of the Liberal Democrat group opposite apparently decided they were against the congestion charge was blown apart. But then we get in the news today, again, the leader saying that, road charging is inevitable. And when I asked the leader earlier whether she supported road charging in Cambridge, she didn't give me an answer. She said she'd never expressed a view on road charging. Now, I think people in South Cambridgeshire are entitled to know what the view of their elected politicians is on this question of whether or not we have road charging. We have a very clear view. The view opposite seems to be, well, no, but yes, but maybe no, but maybe yes. Who knows? Everything needs to be on the table. And, we had an interesting contribution from Councillor Drew earlier. But, there is such a thing as politicians actually saying what they believe and, saying we're against this. And then people can vote for you or they can vote against you. People don't really want politicians to sit there and I'm really an academic expert. I don't really have any views, but elect me and I'll have a think about the evidence and, I might say this, might say that, might say the other. People want to know where their politicians stand. And it's perfectly reasonable for people to want to know where their politicians stand on important local matters like this. So it's not a political game, it's politics. We're supposed to have views and we're supposed to tell the people what our views are. So I think it's really important that we clarify this point, we rule out road charging once and for all, it doesn't keep coming back, we move on, we look at other solutions. We do need solutions, so we move on, put this one to bed. And one final thing I will say is we've had the House of Commons Library quoted a couple of times as if it's a government body. The House of Commons Library is not the government. The House of Commons Library, according to its website, and indeed in fact, is a research and information service based in the UK Parliament which provides non-political research and information to MPs and peers and MPs' staff. So it's not the slam dunk you think, citing a report by the House of Commons Library, which isn't written by a Conservative, it's written by a House of Commons employee who provides impartial reports and advice. So that's not government policy, and I would have thought most people would have known that. Thank you.
Next we have Councillor Bradman.
Thank you very much, Chair. So, to answer Councillor Williams, who wanted a clear view, my clear view is that I completely oppose this motion for the following reasons. And I have spoken this explanation to people on the doorsteps, in numerous places, and people have understood where I'm coming from and have, in many cases, changed their view. So the point is that there's a principle on this, that I believe that we shouldn't make decisions which tie the hands of future decision makers, and we shouldn't prevent something which is a reasonable option from being considered in future. So I oppose this view, and I will not be voting for it. Thank you.
Right, well, before we come to the seconder and the mover of the motion, one last chance to see if there are any other members present who want to take part in the debate. Yes, point of information, Councillor Brown.
Yes, you'd rather read me along. I was taking too long. And I'd like to point out that there are currently no proposals on the table from the GCP or the CPCA or any other Peterborough and Cambridgeshire bodies for the congestion charge, the ULEZ charge, or any other form of road charge. And the House of Commons Transport Committee is a body of Parliament and was dominated by, I think, 6 members of the Conservative Party, including Mr. Merriman.
Thank you. I think Councillor Dr. Martin Khan has spoken already. You have a...
It's briefly a point of information because we referred...
information. Go on.
Okay, it's referred to the point that I commented that all options on the table. I would refer to the point that, as I noted, this motion is about road charging in general, and not just about it wasn't to do with congestion charge. I was saying that we don't want to constrain yourself in terms of the fact, in general, the introduction of road charging, not about this specific thing. And I made clear that the decision had been made on that.
Thank you, Dr. Khan. That's a clarification, a point of information. Next, I move to Councillor Dan Lentil, who are the secondary of this motion. Do you want to speak now?
Yes, if everyone else has had their say. A week ago, we had Councillor Bygott quoting the American Civil War Admiral Farragut in relation to the 4-day week trial. Straight ahead, never mind the torpedoes. I'm going to quote a more famous Admiral Akbar from Star Trek, Star Wars even. Oof, there'll be emails. It's a trap. Voting, you're quite right. The Conservatives, I'm not a Conservative, never been a member of the Conservative Party, never voted Conservative in a national election. I'm from the Labour Party originally, and we don't like poll taxes. We don't like flat rate taxes that fall on the low and no paid hardest. We don't like regressive taxes. I thought that was something that Liberal Democrats didn't like. Apparently not. If you'd have told me 20 years ago, when I was studying politics at Hills Road, if you'd have told me that South Cambridgeshire was going to be yellow, I would have not believed you. I wouldn't have thought that was possible because we live in a very blue part of the world. If you'd have told me that two years ago that I would be walking through the streets of Cambridge, I can't quite bring myself to say marching, walking through the streets of Cambridge with hundreds and thousands of fellow residents opposing this, I would have said, no, you'll find me in the pub. Maybe the Disraeli, the Beaconsfield, or the Earl of Derby, who are later Prime Ministers than Stephen Drew seems to be, Councillor Drew seems to be aware of. I'm still on a stage with the GMB Union and the Conservative Party. I don't think that's ever been done before. I've addressed the Communist Party on this issue and the Reform Party. The absolute antithesis and opposition to this form of taxation could not be clearer. And if we're going back in time, let's go back to 1381 and the first poll tax that was imposed and led to massive civil unrest and disobedience and what we call the Peasants' Revolt. Or we could go back to the 1980s when Mrs. Margaret Thatcher tried to do something similar. These taxes are fundamentally un-English. It's not what we do. We do not believe that dukes and dustmen should pay the same as each other. It is a poll tax. Because it is a tax that everybody who relies on private transport, and we do live in quite a rural part of the world where the buses aren't reliable, and by the way, are never going to be reliable, right? We live in a part of the world where people rely on private transport, particularly to access their health care. Certainly, Chair. This opportunity, this once-in-a-generation opportunity for somebody other than the Blue Team to be running affairs here in South Cambridgeshire, this congestion charge is going to define what was proposed. And it's such a shame, and it's such a wasted opportunity, and it is not, I promise you, it is not simply Conservative reactionariness. There we go.
Councillor Lentil, and then I come to the mover of the motion, Councillor Heather Williams.
Thank you, Chair. I'll try to sum up in what I see as the key points have been made. One of which has been made about authority, and I do believe that given we are members of the GCP and the Combined Authority, that we do have a say and influence. Also, we went through a period in this council of probably being the best known letter writers for district councils in the country, because we had motion after motion of writing a letter to have an issue with X or an issue with Y, some of which we supported, some of which we didn't. They all went outside the scope of the council. And actually, sometimes things were potentially negative towards the government at the time, but we locally supported them because it was the right thing to do, in our view. So there is history to the council demonstrating its viewpoint on things that aren't just direct responsibilities of the council. I think the debate is disappointing, though I would credit Councillor Bradnam for at least discussing the actual motion and the merits and standing up for having potential options for road charging, because the majority of it has been about the party and party politics and electioneering. Yes, we are, all of us in this chamber, elected through politics. But it doesn't mean that we don't say what we think, and we don't represent people in the way that we think is right. I unashamedly will do what I think is right. And I don't think there's anything wrong in that. And I would have no way do I always agree with what's been done at the council, and most of you are probably tired of hearing me opposing it. But I've said before, it is your right, your democratic right, to do what you think is right, and it's mine to say when I don't think it is. But I don't say that people are lying or that they have, just not caring about residents or this, that and the other. It's disrespectful to each other across the chamber, but also it's disrespectful to our residents and the whole point of why we're here. So, irrespective of who's in government, okay, yes, currently it's the same party as us, but I would be saying the same thing, that I don't think this is the right thing for our residents. And I stand by that now. I will stand by it, whatever government is in charge and whatever party is in charge of this council, because it's what I think is right. I'm not ashamed to do that. I won't be shamed for doing that. And I do think it is sad, Chair, that where debate has got in this council chamber these days.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. We now move straight to the vote on this motion. I'm not going to insult anyone's intelligence by suggesting that we do so by affirmation. So if you would like to participate in an electronic vote, usual rules apply, press the blue button first. And then to remind you, if you want to support the motion as put by Councillor Heather Williams, you press the green. If you want to oppose it, you press the red. The vote is now open. Right, that concludes the vote. That motion is defeated by 20 votes to 6. No abstentions on this occasion. So we now move on to our final item of business today.